Transition Awareness Breathing. Feeling grounded for both children and parents is essential for healthy living and learning. Join Eartha Powell on this series for tips and tools for creating a harmonious environment for learning. Transition Awareness Breathing will help you and your child find an individualized path to tackle change, promote lifelong learning, and discover new approaches to calmness.
Welcome. Welcome to Transition Awareness Breathing Podcast. Stay right where you are. It's Eartha. I invite you to move if you would like. Well, how was that for a transitioning opening? Thank you for coming back. We are on a new venture. Before I go any farther and start any more rhythms, I would like to thank Web Talk Radio for allowing me to have a platform to bring Transition Awareness Breathing podcasts to you. And I would like to thank my producers, Mary Lou and Sam, for making Transition Awareness Breathing podcast available to you wherever you go. So, the opening was a little different, wasn't it? But what we are going to talk about has nothing to do with the rhythm. It has a lot to do with how did that rhythm affect you? How did you feel? What did you do? Did you have any positive thoughts? Were you moving with the rhythm? What sensations, what movements of your body started to go with the rhythm? What goes on in the brain when we have positive thinking, positive emotions? What goes on in there? Why do we feel elated? That's what the podcast is going to be about today. We're going to talk about one hormone that our brain releases when we are happy. And this starts a new series. Now, this is, I would like to say, a bit of a participation podcast, but that is totally up to you. I will continue to play a few different rhythms, and I would like for you to be open to paying attention and being aware of how you respond to the rhythms. Maybe the rhythms are not pleasing to you, or maybe they're like, It's okay. Whatever it is, pay attention. It's the awareness part. And part of that is being aware of how your body's responding, paying attention to your breath, and then being aware of maybe different sensations. Are you tapping your foot? Things like that. One of the positive hormones that is released from the brain that I'd like to talk about today is oxytocin. I mentioned it in a few podcasts a few months ago, very briefly. But, we're in this season, and there's a lot of red hearts in the stores and things like that. I am going to offer you something better than a red heart. I'm going to offer you education and information of what happens when oxytocin is released from the brain into our bodies. Well, oxytocin is one of the feel good, cuddly, like to be hugged and affection type of hormone that functions as a neurotransmitter in the brain. It has a lot to do with certain aspects such as attraction and caregiving, empathy and bonding. In my clinical days, I worked labor and delivery, and so my experience with oxytocin and labor and delivery, it went along with the stimulation of labor, the stimulation of lactation, the bonding between baby and mom and the whole family. I mean, the whole unit was full of oxytocin, so to speak, because oxytocin is one of those positive type of hormones produced in the brain, in the hypothalamus part of the brain. And then once it's produced in the hypothalamus, it is secreted into the bloodstream by the pituitary gland. And then from there, the oxytocin is directed by way of the spinal cord to different parts of the brain, depending on what the situation is. Now, one word that I have found that oxytocin is associated with is called the cuddle hormone or the love drug, and it's more than that. It is also one hormone that it really stimulates and has a lot to do with our trusting behavior, our empathy. When a mom gazes at her baby, oh boy, that first love at first sight. And it's also stimulated with positive thoughts and positive communications. So one may ask a question: if this is such a positive hormone that's produced in our brain and it causes such positive effects, do we have control over it? Well, the answer, according to some of the research, is this: yes. So what do we do? Because from a mindfulness perspective, I mean, there's a lot of information about oxytocin and some of the other hormones that the brain releases, but I wanted to kind of focus a little bit narrowly in on the mindfulness perspective. This is a gift, as I said. This is a education and very basic education, but nonetheless, I hope this offers you some information of how you can trigger your oxytocin. Well, one thing is simply to be around people. Positive people helps. Listening to music, sharing good news, giving a hug, petting your pet or a cat or any pet will trigger that release of oxytocin. So this podcast and the rhythm is provided for you to stimulate movement. Go grab somebody and give them a hug or tap your foot, grab your pet, and let's see how we can stimulate positive thoughts and positive emotions. Maybe this is all funny, and so go grab a friend and listen and have a great laugh and just enjoy the moment of positivity. Here we go with rhythm number 2. Wonderful. We're going to have one more rhythm. I want to suggest that this time, as you're listening to the rhythm, pay attention to your breath. Just the mindfulness, breathing in and blowing out. I would invite you to breathe in through your nose and blowing out through your mouth, making the inhale breath a little shorter than the exhale breath. So you're blowing out a little longer. And particularly, pay attention to different parts and elements of the breath. Feel the temperature of the breath. Pay attention to, as you're listening and maybe you're moving around, pay attention to the movements of your shoulders, or even holding your hands to your heart and paying attention and anchoring your breath there. And if you're sitting down and closing your eyes, be aware of the different sensations in your body and where's your mind going. And if this is not pleasant, pay attention to your mind and the sensations and ask yourself, where's my mind going? This will be our final rhythm. Thank you for trying something new. Wonderful. Thank you so much for your practice. Thank you for your patience. And thank you for trying something new. Maybe you may feel, well, that really wasn't enjoyable. It really didn't really do anything for me. And that's okay, because it opens up a chance to discover what this type of activity doesn't do. And so that could be seen as a positive, because in a discovery of awareness, it is important to know what stimulates that happy, that cuddly hormone, the oxytocin, and what doesn't stimulate, what doesn't make you feel good, what makes you feel uncomfortable, because we need to be able to feel comfortable to express and to share that, that really doesn't make me feel comfortable. And so we have to know that within ourselves, and deep down, not feel judged. And if we are feeling judged, we need to, and I suggest that the first step is to take a breath and be forgiving of ourselves, because I think we are our most critical judge. And so we hold all these feelings inside, and maybe we try to go with the flow, or we try to be what others want us to be. And in the large picture, we're not being ourselves. And so if this exercise left you with a feeling of, okay, I really didn't like that, that is the first step of awareness of what doesn't work. And so thank you. Thank you for your practice. I would just like to add, as we bring this session to a close, today we talked about oxytocin, and in our next podcast, I'll be talking about another hormone that is stimulated from the brain. Sometimes when we feel ourselves not feeling happy, and we're just sad and we feel down, and life happens, and it's normal to have some periods of sadness and feeling down, feeling blue, some may say. But if that period seems to go on for a long time, there's other hormones that we're going to talk about later on in our podcast that is stimulated in the brain, that is triggered by negative talk, negative thinking. We're not going to cover that right now. But what I would like to say is, if you feel that your sense of sadness or feeling blue is taking a long time to get over, I suggest that it is okay to seek help. Find a counselor, a healthcare professional that could help move you through, or to help you become aware of why you're not moving through this, and it's okay to get help. I am very sincere about that. I am so sincere about that even in this podcast, I am putting a reference in for you, and this not anything that you must do, but if you don't know where to start, this is a starting point. So in my reference, there is a link to amanitherapy.org that you can contact if you need to, and you take it from there and let Aquila Weatherton, who is a licensed professional counselor, she has many years of experience. Check out her practice, again, on amanitherapy.org. She is branching out and opening her own practice, and let her know that you need a little help. And I wish you all the best. In the meantime, as we are moving towards our positive thinking and our positive words, I would again like to thank you for taking time out and joining me in Transition Awareness Breathing podcast. I look forward to talking to you again next time. Have a great day.
Be sure and pick up a copy of Eartha's new book, Tab Mindfulness, Awareness and Coloring Activities in a Pandemic World. It's not just an ordinary coloring book. It features 23 illustrations to stimulate thought, relaxation, and creativity for anyone between the ages of 4 and 94. Increase your positive self-talk energy, unlock new creative paths, transform your time once or twice a week to create beautiful art while strengthening confidence, building positive self-talk, and sensitize self-awareness. Tab Mindfulness, Awareness and Coloring Activities in a Pandemic World. It's available now at Amazon.com.